Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about our chapter number 2, sectors of Indian economy. In this chapter, simply we will discuss about the classification of our Indian economy on the basis of the different things. Here mainly the classification of the Indian economy will be done on the major three bases. The first one is on the basis of economic activities. Second one on the basis of the employment conditions, and third one is on the basis of the ownership. In this chapter, simply we will discuss about these three classifications, the division of the Indian economy into the different sectors on the basis of the different things in detail. So initially I will start about the first one term, economic activities. Before classifying the Indian economy into the different sectors on the basis of the economic activity, we must be able to understand about the meaning of economic activity. That what is the meaning of economic activity? The simple thing, human beings are involved in so many kinds of activities in order to satisfy their needs and wants, like the production, distribution, consumptions of goods and services. And these activities are called the economic activity. And only all those activity in which the reward is given in the terms of money, that will be known as economic activity. It means the money, the reward must be given in the terms of money, that will be known as economic activities. As like we can see, there can be so many kinds of economic activities. As like we can see here, the one of the farmer is working, here one of the person is doing any manufacturing process, one of the person is teaching in the classroom. So many kinds of the economic activities can be there. On the basis of the economic activities, on the basis of the nature of economic activities, we can classify the economy into the three parts. What are that? Into the three sectors. What are that? The first one is the primary sector, second one is the secondary sector, and third one is the tertiary sector. We can classify the Indian economy, the sectors of Indian economy on the basis of economic activity, nature of economic activity which is conducted there. That is, the three parts are here: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Now we will discuss about these three sectors in detail. Primary sector. What do you mean by the primary sector? All the economic activities which are mainly related to the natural resources, directly from the natural resources, as well as whichever the products are formatted here, that are also formatted through a natural process. So all the activities which uses the natural resources, as well as which produce the natural goods from the natural processes, all these collectively will be known as the primary sector. For example, we can see agriculture is there, animal rearing is there, fishing, lumbering, mining, so many kinds of activities are there which are mainly related to the nature. All these activities are come under the head of primary sector. Not only the production work of the natural resources, it also supplies the natural raw material to the another sector. That's why it is called the primary sector. And it is mainly related to the agriculture and the activities related to the agriculture. That's why it is also known as agriculture and related sector. Next one is the secondary sector there. What do you mean by the secondary sector? Secondary, as per the name indicator, this will come after the primary sector, and all the activities which is mainly related to the conversion of raw material into the finished goods will be will come under the head of secondary sector. So here we can see the industrial sector is there, in which the manufacturing work is done. in which the raw material is converted into the different things. Like we can say that a carpenter is using the wooden in order to produce the different kinds of furnitures. So all the activities which are mainly related to the usage of natural products in order to produce the finished goods through a process of manufacturing, that will come under the head of secondary sector. Third one, now the question arises, in order to get a smooth survival of the primary sector and secondary sector, there are the requirement of some basic services. And now the question arises, which sector is providing that basic services? That basic services are mainly provided by our third one sector, which is the tertiary sector. So all the economic activities which are mainly related to the providing services required by the primary as well as the secondary sector, that will come under the head of the tertiary sector. No doubt it also provide a lot of number of, we can say a lot of personal services which also included under the head of the tertiary sectors. It is mainly related to the provision of services, that's why it is also known as the service sectors. For example, the transportation, communication, warehousing, finance facilities. On the basis of personal services, we can say that the cobbler are there, barbers are there, cleaning, sanitation facilities. So many kind of the services which are also required for the smooth survival of our normal life. That will come under the head of tertiary sector. Now the question arises, what are the interdependence between the primary, secondary and tertiary sector? So simply, each and every sector is mainly depend upon each other. Primary sector depends upon secondary and tertiary sector. Secondary sector depends upon primary and tertiary sector, as well as tertiary sector is depend upon primary and secondary sector both. How? The simple thing, primary sector, the first one term is there. Primary sector, it provide raw material needed for the agro-based industries. What is the main work of the primary sector? It provides the raw material formatted by the primary sector for the another one industries, especially for the industries which are mainly based upon the agriculture products. After that, primary sector supplies food for the needed for the people working in secondary and tertiary sector. Every human being is here who is consuming goods in order to satisfy their needs and wants. So how these foods came into the existence? These are mainly provided by the primary sector, and it also provide food to the every human being of the, we can say every citizen of the economy. We cannot say that it is providing the food to the only primary sector. It also providing food to the people who are working in secondary and tertiary sectors. Then secondary sectors, what it supplies, it provides the different kinds of tools and techniques to the primary sector. Like secondary sector provides the fertilizers, pesticides and agriculture machines which are mainly required by the primary sector. It also supplies the different kinds of tools, techniques to the service sector, to the tertiary sector. So primary sector is depend upon secondary sector is depend upon primary sector, tertiary sector is depend upon secondary sector. Now how the tertiary sector is providing a different kind of things to the primary as well as secondary sector. Tertiary sector provide the different kinds of services which are mainly required for the smooth survival of both the primary as well as the tertiary sector. What is that? The one term is there. Tertiary sector provide transportation, insurance and communication facilities which are required for the both of the sector, either the primary sector or the secondary sector, both we can say. So many kinds of facilities like transportation, insurance, the communication. Then each sectors. Now the question arises, how the tertiary sector depend upon primary and secondary, because the whichever the services are given or provided by the tertiary sector, that are also demanded by the primary and the secondary. If they will not demand it, no doubt the tertiary sector cannot come into the existence. So tertiary sector provide the different kinds of services to the both sector, as well as the every sector they just create the demand for each other. Next one topic is there, what are the historical changes in the sectors? Initially, we can say at the initial time period, there was the early stage, there was the major role was playing in the GDP, that was the playing by the primary sector. After the spending of time later, the secondary sector was playing a greater role in the economic growth, in the formation of GDP, as well as after that in the today's time period, we can say now so many kinds of services are coming into the existence. In the today's time period, tertiary sector is playing a greatest role in the overall promotion of the GDP and the economic growth. The detail of these terms is there. Historical changes in sector, in the early stage of development, we can say the primary sector was playing a dominant role. After that, when agriculture developed, some people they just also started some small scale kind of manufacturing, transportation, teaching, so many things are there. In the second stage, after the more than 100 years later, revolution came into the existence. Many kinds of the factories came into the existence. So many people, then what happened, so many people they just left the agriculture and joined industries, and secondary sector it just become the most important one. After that, in the recent time period, we can say uh, the service sector is became the most important sector in the total production as well as in the employment generation. Why? Because of in the today's time period, a lot of kind of services are provided in each and every work. So the tertiary sector is playing a greatest role in the formation of GDP. Now the question arises, how you can find out that which sector is playing a greatest role in the overall economic growth? It can be done using the two ways. How? It can be done with the help of checking of the contribution to GDP, as well as the checking of contribution to the employment generation. We just have to now discuss about that which sector is playing how much contribution in the GDP, and which sector is playing up to which extent in creation of the employment opportunities. So first one is there, that is the GDP, the contribution in the GDP. Now the question arises, what do you mean by the GDP? GDP means the full form of GDP is gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is the simply we can say this is the monetary value, the value in the terms of money, not in the terms of quantity. The monetary value of which thing? Of all the final goods and services which are produced in a country at a particular period of time, we can say for a particular period of time, generally an accounting year, and mainly it refers to the sum total of all the goods and services which are produced by all the three sectors. So in GDP, simply we can say that the value of the goods which is produced by the primary sector plus value of goods produced by the secondary sector plus value of goods produced by the tertiary sector, all these sectors will be collectively summed up, then it will be equivalent to the GDP. After that, now in the situation of the GDP, we can say that we are just paying attention that all the final goods are there. Why the final goods has been taken into the consideration? Why? There is a reason behind of it. We will discuss about the meaning of the final goods also. Final goods are those goods simply which are directly consumed by the people. कि final goods क्या है? Simply which are directly consumed or used by the people in order to satisfy their needs and wants. But there are so many another goods which are used as a raw material in order to convert the things into the finished goods. So what refers to that raw material? That raw material refers to the intermediate goods. The simple thing is there, the final goods which are mainly consumed directly by the people, and intermediate goods which are mainly used as the raw material for the production of the final goods. And why only the value of final goods are taken into the consideration for the calculation of GDP? Because the value of the intermediate goods are already included in the value of final goods. So generally, in order to avoid the double counting, the value of the intermediate goods are not included in the GDP. Okay, as like the example, we can see one of the biscuit company, cupcake company manufacturer, they have purchased these things for the intermediate goods. These are termed as the intermediate goods, which are brought up by the cupcake shop, and finally they turned into the cupcakes. So these will be known as the final goods, and intermediate, these will be known as the intermediate goods. Okay, after that we will now the meaning of the GDP and final goods and intermediate goods are completed. We will discuss about the contribution of these three sectors in the GDP, and we will compare these three sectors on the basis of the value produced as well as on the basis of the percentage contribution in the GDP. The simply thing, the first one is here, which one sector is playing a dominant role in the Indian economy on the basis of the contribution to the GDP. This will be mainly done on the basis of the value in the monetary terms. Simply we can say in 1973 and 74, the population was also low as well as the amount produced of the GDP was also low. But in case of 2003, 13 and 14, it was very high. At that point of time in 1973-4, which sector is playing a major role? Primary sector is playing a major role, made the highest contribution to GDP. So it was playing a dominant role. But in the 2013-14, tertiary sector was playing a major role. It is contributing at the higher level in the GDP. Okay. After that, next one, contribution share of sectors in GDP as per the percentage. As per the percentage also, at that point of time, primary sector was playing a greater role, and in the today's time period, in the form of the percentage, we can say tertiary sector is playing a major role. Now, what is the reason? Question arises, what are the different reasons behind the rapid growth of service sector? So simply there are some basic reasons with the help of which we can prove that the service sectors came into the existence to a great extent. Why? The first one is the development of agriculture and industry. Due to the development of the agriculture and industry, it means the primary and the secondary sector, it just created demand for the different kinds of services for their smooth survival, like the transportation, banking, insurance. Due to this reason, we can say that the secondary sector is came into the existence to a large level. Second one, what the government did, it also invested the heavy amount of money on the different kind of basic services like the education, health, administrative level, police, we can say, on the, in order to promote these things, in order to get the overall development of the human capital, they just invested on money on the education, health and police, so that these kind of services sector also came into the existence. After that, now in the today's time period, we can say that more of the income level is also coming into the existence for to the people. And due to the increase in the income of the people, they are creating the demand for the different kind of new services, like the private schools, we can say private hospitals, eating out by going in the different kinds of restaurants, hotels, tourisms are there. So these things also lead to the creation of the new service sector. After that, on the basis of the IT, now the IT sector has been developed to a great extent, and different kinds of new services has been came into the existence on the basis of the IT sector. Different kinds of the call centers has been set up by the different companies, different MNCs also. Last one, MNCs. MNCs have also invested the heavy money on the services, different kinds of services like the banking and the insurance. Due to these reasons, we can say our tertiary sector is playing a greatest role in the formation of the GDP. After that, now the question arises, which kind, if the service sector is providing the major contribution to the GDP, which kind of the people are mainly employed by the service sector? It doesn't mean that it just employ the similar kind of the people. No, there are the different kind of people who are mainly get employed by the service sector. Which kind of that? Like the first one, some of the organizations are there which employ the highly skilled people, like the educated people, skilled people like teachers, doctors, lawyers. And generally the payment of them are good. It means the salaries of them are good. Along with the salaries also, they also enjoy many kinds of another benefits. But on the opposite side, some another service sectors in which the workers are uneducated, unskilled, like the washerman, barber, rickshaw pullers, auto rickshaw drivers, domestic servants. These are also the people who are providing the services to the people. But there is a difference. What is that? They are poorly paid. They don't enjoy any kind of the benefits. So tertiary sector is employing the different kinds of people. So we will also discuss about the contribution of these three sectors in the formation of the employment opportunities also. Dominant sector in Indian economy on the basis of the contribution to the employment, you can see very well that at the time period of 1970-78, primary sector was playing a major role, as well as in the 2017-18, primary sector is playing a major role, where in the sectors in the formation of employment opportunities. So here is primary sector is the dominant, and no doubt it is continuous to the largest provider of employment opportunities in India. Now, can you think that in the case of GDP, the tertiary sector was playing a major role, but in case of primary sector, the in case of employment opportunities, primary sector is playing a major role. Why it is? The simple thing is there, first of all, why the income is low in primary sector and why the income is high in secondary and tertiary sector? Because our major population is working in the primary sector, but they are producing only a very less amount of GDP. So the per capita income is, per head income is very low, right? The simple thing is there, if the 44% of the GDP is produced by the 12% of the people, 44% of the worker will produce the 12% of the GDP, so per head income will be low. On the opposite side, the 66% of the people of the country, they will produce the 88% of GDP. So simply the income will be high. Nearly half of the worker in working in primary sector, but they are just producing only the 1/6 of the GDP. Now the question arises, what is the reason behind of it? Why do the primary sector continues to be a largest provider of the employment opportunities? The reason behind of it is that due to the disguised unemployment. There are so many reasons, but the main one reason is there due to the disguised unemployment. So simply we will discuss about it also. The first one reason is there that secondary sector and tertiary sector, they didn't create that much of employment opportunities which must be created by them, up to the extent they are just contributing to the GDP. After that, output was increased by 9 times in secondary sector, but employment opportunity increased only by 3 times. As like similar in tertiary sector, production increased by 14 times, but employment increased only by 5 times. The first one, the major reason is there that the secondary sector and tertiary sector, they didn't create enough employment opportunities up to the extent of contribution in the GDP. So reason behind of it, the disguised unemployment. It is also known as underemployment. What do you mean by disguised unemployment? Disguised unemployment refers to a situation in which simply the more of the people are working in an area or in a particular work rather than the requirement. Suppose there is a requirement of the 2 people in order to do a particular task, but 5 people are working on that. So that will be termed, but the people are looking like that they are, every one of them is a working person, but in reality they are not working. Suppose there is an example is also given. Suppose you can see there is a one family which have only 1 hectare of land. They are the 5 worker in the family. Every one of them are working on the same piece of land. They produce only 100 units of rice, and suppose you just take out the 2 worker from them, but the output remain same. There is no changes. So these 2 were actually unemployed. Simply we can say they were the more people were working on the same piece of land rather than the actual requirement. These are known as the disguised unemployment. Now the question arises, the topic is there, which kind of steps should be taken in order to provide the more of the employment opportunities in rural areas? Which kind of the main opportunities should be arised, or which kind of the main steps should be taken by the government in order to provide the more work to the rural people? The first one is there, that is the bank and another financial institutions. Bank and another financial institutions, what should they do? They should provide the loan. They should provide the loan. For which objective? For promoting the agriculture, for modernizing agriculture. It will ultimately help the farmers to raise more than one crop in the same year. So ultimately, at last, the overall production will be increased. Then some of the agriculture based industries should be set up in the rural areas. There must be some these kinds of industries which should be formatted, which should be set up where? In the rural areas, so that the people of the rural areas, they will be easily get the some another kind of work rather than the agriculture also. After that, collection centers of agriculture products should be set up in rural areas. In agriculture, simply in rural areas, there are some kind of the collection centers. It means collection center means the centers which will collect the products, manufacturing products of the primary sector, will collect and also sale of it in the market. So with the help of this, so many rural people will also get the jobs in collection center, as well as they will also get a convenience in order to sell their product. After that, promotion of education. Promotion of education means all the children of the rural areas, they must be sent to the school. So the education sector, it will ultimately hire the another people in order to give them the work, and so many another people will also get the jobs in the education sector. As well as attention on health, there should be some hospitals as well as healthcare centers. It should also be set up in the different rural areas, so that the people of the rural areas will be able to get the better health facilities in their nearby areas. Then new kind of the industries development in rural areas like tourism, development of the craft industries, IT based industries. These must be set up as well as developed in the rural areas, so that the people of the rural area will also be able to get the work. The last one, Manrega must be strictly implemented. One of the scheme was implemented by the government in order to create the employment opportunities in the rural areas. That was the Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It must be implemented very strictly. Why? Firstly, I will tell you about the meaning of it. The National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, it was formatted in 2005 by the government. For which reason? In order to provide the employment opportunities to the people for the minimum days of 100. At least 100 days, employment will be available, will be provided to all those people who are able to work as well as willing to work, especially in the rural areas. And no doubt, as well as also one more condition was applied, that if the government will fails to provide the employment with the help of this policy, the unemployed people will be provided the allowance of equivalent to the employment of 100 days. So that's why this act was also known as right to work. And what was the main objective of the Narega? The main objective of the Narega was to reduce the poverty and unemployment in rural areas. The main objective of the Narega policy was to reduce the poverty and unemployment in rural areas. As well as it was also having an objective to develop the different kinds of community assets, so that the rural people will be able to get the more of the assets. Next one topic is there, what should be the different steps to create employment in urban areas? We have studied about the different steps to create the employment in rural areas, but now the question arises, how the employment can also be created in urban areas. There are also so many situations or so many people who are unemployed in the urban areas also. Especially the educated unemployment is existing in the urban areas. So what should be done here? Firstly, the educated people must be given a help. Which kind of help? The educated people should be given the financial help as well as the technical help. Both kind of help must be given to the educated people, so that they will be able to find the employment for themselves. It means they can format the different kinds of business in order to get the money, in order to earn some money. Okay, after that, there should be the promotion of small scale industries. It means there should be some efforts must be made by the government in order to set up the different kinds of small scale industries, in order to promote them. Some kind of concessions or the subsidies must be given by the government for the promotion of small scale industries. Then encouragement to the private investors. The government should provide or should motivate to the private people, the private capitalists, so that they will just set up the different kind of new industries, and the people will get ultimately employment. As well as the foreign capital, it can also be attracted with the help of the different kinds of investment in the industries. Then last one, there must be some steps should be taken by the government in order to provide the education as well as the technical training. Education be provide ki jaye, as well as the technical training must be given to the team workers, must be given to the people in order to develop the skills of them. Next one, classification. On the basis of the employment condition, the economy is mainly classified into the two bases, organized sector and unorganized sector. The simple thing is there. The second one, classification. The first one, classification, we have studied the three sectors on the basis of the nature of economic activity: primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Now the second one, classification, is there, that is the on the basis of employment conditions. The economy is classified into two sectors, that is the organized sector and unorganized sector. So now the meaning of organized and unorganized sector. See this picture carefully. In this picture you can see very well that the people are working here. They are sitting in a proper clean environment. They are working on a particular highly skilled technical work. A neat and clean environment is provided to them. So what are the different features of the organized sector? We will discuss. The organized sector, simply it included all those institutions, all those organizations which are providing the regular employment. जो क्या कर रहे हैं? They are providing the regular employment to their worker, as well as they also follow the many different kinds of rules and regulations. Different kinds of rules and regulations formatted by the government as per the Labor Act, as per the Minimum Wage Act. So many kinds of laws are there. Like they work as per the law like Factory Act, Minimum Wage Act, Payment of Gratuity Act. They just provide a very good salaries to their worker as per the norms set up by the government. Along with the salary, so many kinds of another benefits like paid leave, paid holidays, provident fund, pension after retirement, medical facilities, housing facilities. These kinds of facilities are provided by the organized sectors to their worker. Now we will come about the next one, unorganized sector. See this one very carefully. In this you can see that people are working in manufacturing process. Here the labor are working. Some of the people are selling in the market. In the vegetable market, people are working. What is these? Now we will explain these terms. What is the difference between the organized and unorganized sector? Okay. Unorganized sector, simply it is included the small people, the small organizations, scattered units, जो किसी भी तरीके के कोई rules regulations follow नहीं करते, which do not follow any kinds of rules and regulations. The first one, they don't provide the regular job to their worker. It means at any point of time, the worker can be said that you can go from the work. They are poorly paid, salaries are not good, no job security. It means you are not defined even that up to which time you can get that job. No any kind of benefits like paid leave, paid holidays, provident fund, medical facilities, as well as the work condition is also miserable. That is also not good. There isn't any kind of clean environment, the facilities. So these are termed as the unorganized sector. Now the question arises, what is the difference between the organized as well as unorganized sector? The difference between the organized, the first one, the simply organized sector included all those large institutions which are following the rules, regulations and procedure. The small organizations which do not follow any kind of rules, regulations and procedure. In organized sectors, workers की job security है, they are having the proper agreements, contracts. But in case of unorganized sector, no job security. Maybe from the day next, they will tell you to go at home. In the case of organized sectors, you just have to do the work for a fixed number of hours. और अगर कोई worker जो है वो overtime करता है, then the overtime allowance will also be given. On the opposite side, if there is in the case of unorganized sector, the people will have to do the work for a long period of time, as well as if they are doing any kind of overtime work, no allowance will be given to them. In organized sectors, the workers enjoyed the benefit like paid leave, paid holiday, medical, housing facilities. But in unorganized sectors, no any kind of benefits are given. In organized sectors, workers are paid very well. In unorganized sectors, wages are very low. In organized sectors, the provident fund, gratuity, pensions are given. But in unorganized sectors, these kinds of benefits are not given. So this was the classification of the Indian economy into the two sectors, organized sectors as well as unorganized sectors, on the basis of employment condition, on the basis of the conditions which are providing by the different institutions and organizations. Now our last one concept, that our Indian economy is also classified on the basis of ownership, and it is mainly divided into two sectors. What are that? Public sector and primary sector. Public sector and primary sector. Simply we will discuss about the meaning of these also. The first one, all the enterprises which are mainly owned and managed by the government. It means कि जिनकी power किसके हाथों में है? Government के हाथों में है. That will be known as public sector. But on the opposite side, all the enterprises which are owned and managed by private people, जिनका ओनर कौन है? Private public है. That will be known as private sector. Now the second one topic point, what are the objectives of it? पब्लिक सेक्टर का, गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर का मेन मोटिव क्या होता है? लोगों के वेलफेयर को प्रमोट करना, सोशल बेनिफिट के लिए काम करना. बट ऑन द अपोजिट साइड, प्राइवेट सेक्टर, दे जस्ट प्रमोटिंग द एम ऑफ देम ओनली टू अर्न प्रॉफिट. ओके, नेक्स्ट वन, पब्लिक सेक्टर में मेजर लेवल पे क्या प्रोवाइड किया जाता है? बेसिक सर्विसेज, लाइक वी कैन से द एजुकेशन फैसिलिटीज, health facilities, infrastructure facilities, constructions of roads, railways, defense. These kinds of services are mainly provided by the public sector. On the opposite side, the restaurant services are mainly provided by the private sector. Like railways, BHEL, H&T are the public sector enterprises. Reliance, Tata Motors and Bajaj are the private enterprises. Now the question arises, what is the importance of public sector? Why the public sector is important in an economy? Public sector is important for the different kinds of service providing. Which kind of service providing? Public sector mainly provided infrastructure facilities like the roads, bridges, railways, the basic facilities for the smooth survival of the people, as well as education and health services. Different kinds of schools, different kinds of hospitals are also formatted by the government. Basic key industries like the food grains, like we can say, for the growth of the country. Basic kinds, the necessity of life, people, communication, banking, insurance, warehousing, different kinds of services are mainly provided by the public sector. The main thing, public sector का जो motive है, that is not the profit making. That's why it is important for the economy, because it works for the welfare of the people. Society के upgradation के लिए जो है वो government sector work करता है, like the power supply, water facilities, sanitation facilities, cleaning facilities. After that, whichever the profit are mainly earned by the public sector, that is the income for the government. As well as we also can say large number of people are employed by the public sector. It means the people are also get employment in the public sector. That's why for the overall growth of an economy, there is always a requirement for the public sector. What are the examples? The different kinds of examples are there. The mainly two we can say, which are mainly our government is using, the thing is there, that is the defense production. as well as railways. डिफेंस में जितने भी weapons बनते हैं, whatever the things the armed forces are there, that are mainly produced by the public sector. And why it is important? Because of it just provide the security to the people. So government have reserved it. Mainly government ने क्या किया हुआ है, दो चीजों पे गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर ने अपनी रिजर्वेशन की हुई है, that the private people cannot produce these kinds of things. That is the defense as well as the railway. Railways are also important, the most important source of the transportation of which thing, goods and people over the long distances. No doubt there is a requirement of a heavy amount कि अगर रेलवे सेटअप करना है तो बहुत ज्यादा पैसा लगता है इस चीज पे. Then the private people are not able to make these kinds of investment. That's why the government have reserved it under the public sector. After that, education. Now the basic services are there. Education is also very much important for imparting the skills and knowledge among the people. So government क्या करती है? They also took so many steps in order to provide the education to the poor people. So many kinds of government schools, government colleges has been set up by the government in order to provide the education facilities. After that, healthcare. Healthcare facilities are also very much essential, or we can say important for us, and it must be given. These are very expensive. If we will try to get it from the private level, these are very expensive, but the healthcare should be given at a low rate. To which section of society? To the poor section of society. So generally the government also prefer to invest in it. So many kinds of government hospitals and healthcare centers has been formatted by the government in order to provide the healthcare facilities. So these four terms were there regarding the public sector enterprises. After that, our last topic of the chapter, that is the PDS. Through the PDS also we can say public distribution system, government provide a lot of benefit to the weaker section of society, to the poor section of society. The government, अब इसमें पीडीएस में क्या करती है गवर्नमेंट? दे जस्ट कलेक्ट द फूड मटेरियल. वो क्या करते हैं, जो फार्मर्स का एक एक्स्ट्रा सरप्लस होता है वो उससे फार्मर से कलेक्ट कर लेते हैं. एट विच प्राइस? एट द मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस. द गवर्नमेंट कलेक्ट फूड मटेरियल फ्रॉम द farmers at the minimum support price. Or then what is the work, which kind of the work is to be done? These food material is provided to the people at a reduced rate. कि पहले फार्मर से एक पर्टिकुलर प्राइस के ऊपर फूड ग्रेन्स को कलेक्ट कर लिया जाता है, और देन जो पुअर, बिल्कुल पुअर सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी है, उनको एक बहुत ही सस्ते रेट पे, कम रेट पे, थ्रू देयर राशन कार्ड्स इट इज प्रोवाइडेड. And this system is known as the PDS. PDS means Public Distribution System. अब इससे बेनिफिट क्या है? This system ensure the food security to the people. इस सिस्टम से क्या होता है, लोगों के लिए एक फूड सिक्योरिटी आ जाती है कि अगर किसी समय कोई इमरजेंसी आती है, इन दैट सिचुएशन द पीपल विल नॉट सफर फ्रॉम द स्टारवेशन. ऑन द अपोजिट साइड फार्मर्स को भी बेनिफिट मिलता है. दे कैन सेल देयर फूड मटेरियल टू द गवर्नमेंट एट द MSP. MSP is the minimum support price, and minimum support price is that price which is mainly set up by the government in order to purchase the crops of the farmers, so that the farmers will not get exploited by the middleman. After that, on the opposite side, food material उन लोगों को भी distribute किया जाता है which are mainly affected by the natural calamities. कि अगर in an emergency economy में कोई situation आती है, in that case these kinds of food material can also be provided to all those people. So this chapter is completed now.